This is Ted Doskaris, and today is April 13th, 2020, and I'm running a test with three USAT trains locomotives, an SD40-2 with three-axle trucks in the front, and then two GP USA trains locomotives. The first one, of course, is Union Pacific, the second is Union Pacific, and the third is the Southern Pacific. So all three of these locomotives have been equipped with 1 ohm current inrush limiting resistors that are in series with the motor. There's a 1 ohm series resistor in series with each electric motor. There's one electric motor in each truck. And the purpose of that is to mitigate wheel pitting that can occur when you're using pulse width modulation or any kind of a pulse application on the track rather than DC linear. Or mostly pulse width modulation compared to DC linear. So at any rate, the train is going at a crawl speed now, and so it's a good relative test to see that all the wheels are turning, even though these locomotives don't particularly speed match when they're separated on, say, a straight track or a circle track when you're not coupled and they're not coupled together. So it turns out that the SD40-2 is a little bit slower than the GP units, and of course the GP units, and not just the GP9s that are on this train, but the GP38 and the GP30 and the F3s that all share the same two-axle motor block have the same characteristics. So Noah Wilson on LSC had a comment about I guess these engines running together, so I decided to put them together just to show how they work. So whether since all these locomotives have the series 1 ohm resistors in series with the motors, they're all relatively the same as if they didn't have the resistors in series with the motors. So this will be a comparison here, and so I'll run the train just a little bit faster, and it's in pulse width modulation right now, and we should see all the wheels at this very slow pace turning. So what we'll do is we can see that the SD unit is ever so slowly turning here, and so is the GP9 here, the Union Pacific one. And of course the Southern Pacific one that's coming up now. And this train it's connected to is 25 cars long. So with the engines coupled together, acting like loads or like physical loads on each other, and the train also, they tend to equalize their speed differences. So I can switch to linear here. The lights will go out and the train moves maybe a hair slower. So there's an advantage of PWM for low speed control, but mostly for the lights. So as you can see here, if I switch back to PWM, the lights will come on. So it turns out, without any modifications to these locos, it doesn't seem to hurt them if you run them on PWM or run them on linear. So they seem to react favorably. However, the USA train's caboose, with the light in the back of it, doesn't perform with PWM. And some other USA trains, locomotives like the SD40, doesn't perform well at all with the basically with the electronics and the control of the lights. So I'll run it a little faster. And so we'll see if this train, with the two Geeps on the back, which are, I added weight to all of these engines, by the way, not much, within 2 pounds each. And so they have a little bit improved traction because I eliminated the axles that have traction tires on them because I use track power. There's a better area or additional surface for making electrical contact on the railhead. And also, as a fail-safe, if it's better to have the wheels slip rather than grab and stall the engines. So it's better to have the wheels slip and there's back EMF generated, so then the engines won't draw an excessive amount of current that way. So we'll go outside and see if this train can make the grade. So when I ran it before, I had an Aristo SD45 and an Aristo GP40 coupled along with the USA Trains SD40-2, and they worked fine together pulling this train. So I'll speed it up here. So the train is coming out from under the house. So right now I'm running 50% power using a revolution controller in pulse width modulation mode. Or they call it a pulse width controller, PWC, but it's really PWM. So usually this is one critical area where the train is being pulled right now. And the grade relaxes a little bit here where the locomotives are coming up here. So now it's approaching another critical area where if the wheels are going to slip, it'll do it up on this grade here, usually by the time it gets to the corner. So it seems to be pulling it all right. So I'll see if I can slow it down here so it comes up the grade a little slower. So we can see the wheel action. You can see the wheels turning there on the SD40-2, and they're turning on the GP7/9 unit for the Union Pacific one, and also for the Southern Pacific GP7/9. The only distinguishing feature between it, or not the only, but one is these two grill things here. Distinguish the 7 from the 9 in the prototype world. So I'm purposely running it slow because it's more apt to not be able to pull the heavy train up the grade if the wheels are going to slip. And if they do slip, again, it's a fail-safe for the electric motors because they'll generate back EMF as opposed to digging in and stalling. So there it is. So I'll speed it up. to 45% power. Speed it up a little more to 50% power. Now the wind's picking up, cars could get blown off the track. So I'll have to switch this turnout here, so when it comes back down, it won't derail. Well, the locomotives might be able to push the points open, the cars may not. So that's another critical area back behind the tree for a heavy train where the cars could string line. So we'll catch the train coming down the hill here. So the locomotives and all the cars have KD center set couplers mounted on body mounts. And also the caboose. Now the train is coming up to the center path. So you can see hopefully you can see the coupler action, even going down grade. They're all in tension until there are enough cars going downhill that will push the couplers in compression. So there's so much for that operation. Now I ran the engines around to the other end of the train and also swapped the caboose to where the engines used to be for the train's return home. So it's running at 40% power now, pulling up this grade here. You can see the wheels all turning. Couplers are in tension. It's getting quite windy now from the tree back there and the chimes. So hopefully the cars won't get blown off the track on their way home. It's going over the viaduct now on the horseshoe curve. So it's possible the first couple of cars could get pulled over around this tree here going at this slow speed. And with the little bit of wind that's up. So this SP boxcar here might get pulled over, or the Chicago Northwestern car behind it. Well, it looks like it made it for now. So again, I run track power. Outdoor track is stainless steel. Under the house it's brass, where it's not subject to oxidizing so badly. Get a perspective of the horseshoe curve here. So I'll slow it down coming down the hill to 35% power. So this SD40-2 is the one I reconstituted or rebuilt completely, because I got it only the shell and the chassis. Fortunately it had the circuit boards inside. I had to buy everything else to put it back together. So hopefully the wind is not going to blow the cars over. Especially these AML high cube cars. They have a pretty large surface area. They get blown over easily. So I had to make 2 loops to keep the grade within reason, like the prototype railroads, to pull a reasonably long train. Since most of these cars are a little bit more modern than, say, in the earlier era where steam engine and diesels were being phased in, these are mostly 50-foot cars, or replicas of 50-foot cars. Some of the cars I had to add extra weight, like this LGB tank car. So I did so by lowering it to make it more feasible or friendly to do that, by using Aristocrat roller bearing trucks and put body mount KD 907s on it. So now the train is returning home. And there you have it.